welcome to another edition of Citrus Today. Glad to have in the studio with us Susan Quinnell. She is with the Friends of Citrus and the Nature Coast. And then we also have Kathy Henderson back with us, and a very special guest in the studio. Not that you two ladies aren't special, but hey, been a while since we've seen Dutch back here, and he's with us today. Dutch is, well, he's been missing in this studio for about a year and a half or so.
About a year and a half, yeah.
So we're glad to have Dutch back in with us.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about a lot of things happening, but we're going to start with, for anybody who's not familiar with Friends of Citrus and the Nature Coast, explain to us, what the organization is and what you do.
Thank you, Dennis. Friends of Citrus and the Nature Coast is a nonprofit organization that provides grief services to anyone who has experienced a loss, adults and children. We provide all kinds of grief support services and programs, wellness programs for people who have had a loss. What we're talking about today is our Camp Good Hope and Teen Encounter, which is coming up. And I'll mention that all our programs are offered at no cost. But we do accept donations. Our funding is basically donations,
right?
Thrift store donations, grants, and fundraisers that we have throughout the years in the community. So yes, we are always happy to get people's donations, and grief hurts, and your donation helps. And it helps with Camp Good Hope as well. We do have a $10 registration fee for camp, but we have scholarships available for any child who cannot have that $10 registration fee. So no child is turned away.
There you go. This is, you were mentioning the 25th year of Camp Good Hope, right?
This is we are celebrating 25 years of Camp Good Hope Teen Encounter. We started in the fall of 1996. Wow. And here we are this fall of 2021 still providing camp. Now we do mini camps. Our structure of camp has changed over the years. We've had day camps, we've had overnight camps, which the kids really loved, but that took a lot of coordination and a lot of financial support. But now we have what we call mini camps, so we can provide them much more often to keep the kids hooked in and coming back and seeing the same children over and over again. They establish those well-needed relationships with other children who have suffered a loss. So we're having our mini camps go from 9 until noon, the day of camp. And what they do during that time is they engage in different grief stations. Some of those grief stations will be outside doing something in nature. Some of those grief stations will be inside working on arts and crafts projects that have to do with our loss. And then some of those grief stations have to do with actually a therapeutic setting where the children have the opportunity to talk about their grief and their feelings and how their lives have changed, and get some support that way.
It's a big thing for kids when they've lost either a person that's close to them or a pet that's close to them. It's tough to handle sometimes.
It's very difficult, and a lot of times they don't really have anybody to talk to, especially if the loss has affected everybody in the family. Say it was a child's father. The mother's going to be grieving.
Right.
Everybody else in the family is grieving this loss. And the child, sometimes they feel like they don't want to add to everyone's sadness.
Right.
So they keep it inside and they don't talk about it. And their friends at school love them, but they really can't relate
to
unless they've had a similar loss. So at camp, they're with other children their age that have had similar losses. So they feel more open to talk about what's going on with them.
Yeah, they get to express themselves that way.
There you go.
The first 3 years now I've been with the camp, and it's just amazing. it's just amazing that we can offer this for the children.
It is. Dutch is a big part of it.
Yes.
That is introduced to the youngsters. How does that work? Tell me a little bit about how you integrate Dutch into this program.
Dutch greets the children when they first come, so he kind of, we've noticed, we use him as a greeter because we noticed as the kids come in, they're hesitant, and the minute that they see Dutch, they're all ready to go. So we use him as the greeter, and then, you know, each of the areas for grief and each of the classes, how they got set up, what I do is I just let Dutch wander around. But what happens first of all, though, is that he greets everybody, and then he just wanders around, and then there's the break time. That's when the children get with Dutch and they run and they play, and yeah. And Dutch knows, I did not train Dutch for what he does. Dutch just knows he's a very special dog, and he just knows what he needs to do because Dutch reads people. And what he does is he takes all the children in, he plays with them all, but those that need a little extra attention, if you observe him, you will notice that he will pull that child out so that they can get all the grief, that counseling and stuff that, you know, activities that they need.
It's amazing what animals read in us as humans.
Yes.
When you really think about it. And Dutch is a fine example of showing that off. Definitely. Not only have you participated with this camp, but I know over the years you've done nursing homes, rehab facilities, and so forth.
Yeah, and you know, I'm still part of that, and I am a Stephen minister now. Dutch is the honorary Stephen minister, so we are out there showing God's love, and we do it as a team together. So wherever we need to be, and God has placed us here, we're also part of Vitas Healthcare for hospice and veterans. So we're a big part of the grieving process.
Right.
So this with the children, he's just phenomenal with the children. Before we got on the air here, we were talking about sharing the stories that we have these past 3 years.
I want to share some of those stories as we continue. We've got another segment of the program coming up, and tell you more about Camp Good Hope as we continue, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Once again, we're talking again with Susan and Kathy and Dutch about Camp Good Hope that's coming up. That's August the 28th, and it'll be 9 a.m. until noon. The age groups that are invited to this?
Yes, we take campers from 6 years of age up until 17.
Okay.
And what we do, because that's a wide range for children, we divide them into age groups. So depending on how many little ones we get, or middle-aged, or high school, they're divided into different groups, so they're in age-appropriate learning groups. And of course, the teen encounter is completely separate. They have their own program and their own activities, and then we come together at the end. We're all together at the end, but the teens get to do things that are more appropriate for teenagers.
Gotcha.
Yes.
And the location?
The location.
I failed to ask you about that.
Well, you know, we used to have camp at camps. It used to be outdoors at like Fort Cooper, or you know, somewhere where there's a camp and trees and woods. But with COVID, a lot of our opportunities closed down.
Right.
So we got creative, and we're very fortunate to have a very large space at our offices in Homosassa, right on Periwinkle Lane in Homosassa. So we have a grief center over there that actually it has room for plenty of room for the children, for the volunteers, and for us all to even continue to physically distance as we need to, and to stay safe and follow the CDC guidelines. So if parents are concerned about that, we do practice disinfecting our hands and a lot of hand washing and some of that physical distancing. Masks, of course, are optional. But we want everyone to feel safe and comfortable there, and we're very fortunate we have plenty of room, and we have outdoor space as well, so the kids get to go outside and do something in nature even though it's not at a real camp.
There you go.
And you also have a nurse. You have a nurse that's there, so, and she's always observing the children and everything, so I mean, it's, all eyes.
Yep, camp nurse on board.
How do they sign up for the camp?
They can call our number, 249-1470, and just say they want to register a child for camp. We will send them the application. They do have to fill out an application. Applications are supposed to be in by next Monday. Is that the 23rd, I think?
That would be the 23rd, yeah.
So we're doing a quick push here. We had to wait until the kids got back into school.
Right.
So we would have better contact with them and the school counselors and the parents. So we're hoping we can get a lot of kids this week to sign up and come on in and go to camp.
And again, that phone number, 249-1470.
Absolutely.
Okay, so give them a call if you want to get signed up. One of the, sounds like fun to me, one of the fun things you did was stuck a GoPro on Dutch.
Yeah, we were talking about that. We put a GoPro on so that you could see him interacting with the children when it first started going. He's got such a big head. All you could see is his hair in the back of his head. But then we finally got it going, so we've experimented with different things because he's always about and around with everybody. He's always checking, making sure everybody's happy and good. Plus the volunteers. He's also very good with the volunteers.
Yes, he is. And he instinctively knows who needs a little attention.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And he goes to those children and he goes to those adults. Some of the stories, one of the first times I think Dutch came to camp, we had a child who did not want to stay. His parent had brought him and he was clinging to her. He did not want to stay for camp. He was almost crying. He was like, I don't want to be here. Don't leave me. Well, Kathy walked up with Dutch. And the long story short is he stayed for camp and made new friends and had a wonderful experience. But Dutch is the one that made that happen. He just went right up to that child and started like, hey, come with me. I'm here. You know, I want you here today. What are you doing? You can't go. And he did. Important. He stayed, and it's things like that you've got some other stories.
Well, you know, there was a teenager there that he didn't want any part of it, and he wanted to go home, and we had just started. And so it took a little while before, they came to get him. But in between that time, Dutch took the ball and took it and gave it to him. The next thing you know is they're at the front of the room and he's throwing the ball with Dutch. When they came to pick him up, he said, I don't want to go. And I just let Dutch go because that's what he does. Right. He goes and reads to people, and I can't interfere with that. There was another boy, younger boy, that had a little bear with his dad's voice in it, and he laid down on the floor and he just covered his face and didn't want to have anything to do with the camp or anything. Dutch laid down beside him and would go from one side to the other and put his nose down there, and he finally started giggling. And the next thing you know, it took a little while, but the next thing he got up and Dutch followed him, and he ended up enjoying the rest of the day. Wow. So not only as a greeter as Dutch constantly through the time will watch each of these children to make sure that they're all having a good time. It's almost like he knows.
He does.
He does. It's like he knows.
He knows who to go to.
He knows who to
and
go
how
to.
Try to get them to start interacting and feel
Yeah.
more at ease with being
Amazing.
there. He is amazing. He's
and,
a
a good
huge part
addition.
of camp.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Again, that is Camp Good Hope, and it's coming up fast here, August the 28th, and it lasts from 9 o'clock until noon. You need to sign up quick because the deadline's the 23rd.
Yes.
And it's easy enough. All you do is call 352-249-1470, and just if you got any questions, they'll answer them for you at that time. But sign up. It's $10, but you also have scholarships too.
We do. We have
Yes.
scholarships available. No child is turned away.
Okay.
That's beautiful. And plus, we also, now we're talking about Dutch, we have a photographer there that does take pictures.
Oh.
So that if, there is a family that would want a picture with Dutch,
Oh,
that is
yeah.
that's also available.
Pictures with Dutch.
Okay. Well, thank you both for joining us. You too, Dutch. And
He never moved.
there he
No,
is.
he never moved. Yeah, he never moved. He didn't yawn.
And thanks to everybody out there for sharing the time with us here on Citrus Today.